Alex Bowman wins another one. Kyle Busch gets triggered, and let's talk about how good Danica was up in the booth. All that and more coming up next. What's going on, everybody? If I haven't earned your subscription, hopefully today is the day I will earn that subscription. All right. So with a few laps left to go, Eric Jones spun out, setting up a shootout to the finish. In that shootout, the Hendrick cars all took 2 tires. Great call by Greg Ives and all the rest of the Hendrick crew chiefs there. And they outran Kyle Busch, and particularly Alex Bowman outran Kyle Larson, which you can say he stole this, but he still had to outrun Kyle Larson, who showed he had a strong car all day. Alex Bowman, of course, had a strong car as well, winning a stage. But at the end of the day, when it was all on the line, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And Alex Bowman beat the man, points leader Kyle Larson. He outran him, and he got that win. So big ups and mad respect to Alex Bowman for putting it out there on the line and winning that race. And also to his crew chief, like I said, Greg Ives. What a call that was. Put your guy in position. But as impressed as I was that he outran Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch was not as impressed. The same blank guy who backs into every blank win that he ever blanking gets backs into another blanking win. Bull blank, Busch said over the radio transcript, courtesy of the Athletics' Jordan Bianchi. So that is now a trend with Joe Gibbs racing drivers. Of course, Denny Hamlin melted down at Richmond or Martinsville or wherever whenever Alex Bowman gave him the boot to get that win. And now, even though he didn't make any contact with Kyle Busch, and this was a completely legitimate, clean win for Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch melted down. This is no real surprise for Kyle Busch to melt down, but that was pretty, that's pretty out there, calling the guy. Apparently Joe Gibbs Racing has no respect for Alex Bowman, and I don't know exactly why that is, but Alex Bowman has 5 wins since 2020. That is the second most of any Chevrolet driver, at least, other than Kyle Larson. So him and Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott have sort of been carrying the banner for Chevrolet here. So I don't see how you can disrespect this guy's talent or skill level, but apparently Joe Gibbs Racing, they don't have any love lost for Alex Bowman, and probably any love lost for Hendrick. I think that's more of the deal. The Joe Gibbs Racing group is in direct competition with Hendrick right now, and Penske too, probably as well. So I think that was more of the issue than actually Alex Bowman himself. I think they're just tired of getting beat by those Hendrick cars. Now, the race itself was pretty cut and dry. It was a fairly boring race that got bailed out by a really good finish, but one of the highlights of that race was Ross Chastain getting up there leading some laps. At one point before the cloud cover came, Ross Chastain looked like he was going to run away with this thing, but then the cloud cover came, and Martin Truex and Kyle Busch showed that they had a lot of speed. They went up there and passed him, and those two were putting on quite a show at the very end. But other than that, the race was actually very boring from the beginning until the last, maybe I'll say the last 30 laps. The race was just pretty much a snooze fest. Once again, tires were an issue. They got bailed out because the drivers kept their heads about them. All the drivers that spun, at least, kept their heads about them, and they kept the cars going instead of locking them up and flattening the tires. So we didn't talk about that this week. But once again, the tires were an issue. And I give a lot of respect to Danica Patrick, because she actually called it out on air. She said, man, these tires are really not holding up, or whatever. She said something to that effect. These tires really doesn't take a whole lot to pop them. So had a lot of respect for her for saying that, because that's the first time they've actually acknowledged it on the air, that these tires are awful. So good for her. And I think she did pretty good in the booth overall as well. I think the booth was one of the best booths they've had, and I think they should keep it going. The rotating in and out kind of keeps it fresh, kind of keeps it interesting. So I think Fox actually, I've been critical of them a couple other races. I think Fox actually did a pretty good job covering this race. All right, on to a good race, a bad race. It was a good race for Kyle Busch. He didn't get the win, but considering they had a backup car that they put together in about 7 or 8 hours, getting a top 3 finish is pretty good. So he can't be or top 4 finish or whatever. He can't be super mad with that. So I think he should be happy, even though he's Kyle Busch and he's never going to be happy unless he wins. I'm not sure he's even happy when he wins sometimes. I've seen him get mad at a win that the car just wasn't good. So anyway, but it was a good race for him nonetheless. It was also a good race for Toyota because for the first time they didn't have any type of mechanical failures. Toyota was running some really thin grill mesh on the front of their cars, and that was causing them to overheat. They found that problem and got rid of it. Obviously, they were trying to get an aero advantage with that. They figured out what their issue was, and they finally finished a race. And when they finish a race, they have some speed. And also, it was a good race for, like I said, Ross Chastain, but more importantly, Trackhouse for the second week in a row. They got a top 3, so good for them. And Fast Willie B, William Byron, gets his first top 5 of the season. And Eric Almirola, carrying the banner for Ford, finishing 6th. This is his 3rd straight top 10. So those are all of your good race drivers. Now on to bad race. Bad race for Eric Jones. He gets all the way to the end of the race. He had a nice top 12, top 15 going. And he just makes mistakes, spins out. He collected Bubba Wallace, who was also having a good. Also, it was a bad day for Ford. 2 of the Penske cars got damaged, and so they were never a factor. Austin Cindric and Ryan Blaney. Joey Logano ran pretty good, but his setup was just a little bit off. And the cool thing about this car is when your setup's just a little bit off, you're sort of out of the ball game. So Joey Logano and all of the Penske Alliance cars, so just basically the Penske Alliance, bad race for them, and that's sort of just bad luck when you got all your eggs in one basket. But the saving grace for Ford is Stewart-Haas, for whatever reason, isn't in that particular alliance somehow. And they carried the banner for Ford with Kevin Harvick and Eric Almirola. And of course, I can't go without mentioning another bad week for Brad Keselowski. It seems like every weekend now he is involved in some type of wreck or something like that. All right, that's all I got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed the content, and if you did, you can subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate it. And if you got a comment, leave it down in the comment section. I try to get to as many of them as I can, and other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.